All right, we ready? All right, good evening, everybody. 7 o'clock, welcome to tonight's meeting of the Ashland School Board. I will call this regular session to order. Let the record show that all 5 directors are present. And we will start with the land acknowledgement, which will be read by Director Skurtowicz.
We acknowledge that the sacred land we live and learn on today belongs to the Takelma, Shasta, Modoc, Klamath, and Umpqua peoples. We honor and acknowledge the traditional owners of the land we now call the United States. We recognize the Native American people's continuing connection to land, place, waters, and community. We pay our respects to their cultures, country, and elders, past, present, and emerging.
Thank you, Eva. Okay, next on our agenda, I will take a motion to adopt the agenda that we have all had a chance to review as presented.
I move to adopt the agenda as presented.
I'll second.
All in favor? Okay. And next we have the consent agenda. It's fairly short this evening. We have the previous minutes from last meeting. We have the personnel report for December 2024 and the enrollment report also for December 2024. So unless anybody wants to pull anything from the consent agenda, I will take a motion to approve the consent agenda as submitted.
I would like to pull the enrollment report.
Okay.
The minutes aren't on here because they were not completed. I know.
You're saying go ahead about the enrollment report? Oh, I just wanted to point out that as of December, we are down 461 students from December of 2016. That is 16% in 8 years. We are at the lowest point that we have ever been. And so really, if we're using that figure of $11,000 per student, that is down $5 million from 8 years ago. So I just wanted to point that out.
Thank you, Dan. That's good information. Okay, so I will now again take a motion to approve the consent agenda minus last meeting's minutes.
So moved.
I second.
All in favor? Good. Eva and Russell. Yeah. Okay, and so next we have the middle school here tonight to do our school report.
Okay, well, thanks for
Oh, okay. Wow. It's different technology than the last time I was here. Okay, so I didn't get my PowerPoint to Jackie ahead of time, so it's not on the big screen. I did send it to all of you if you want to pull it up. It's just a few slides, just kind of a highlight of what's going on currently at AMS, and have some fabulous guest speakers that are going to chime in. This is Quinlan Canning, and he is 7th or 8th? 7th grader, and Matthew Atanas, also a 7th grader. So we really have, coming out of COVID, this is my 3rd year being assistant principal at the middle school. So I started kind of, that initial year that we were finally back in full person. And I will say the apathy was pretty strong. A lot of mask wearing still, like social connection pretty low. So we really tried to focus on more of a positive school climate and community, and doing that via really trying to highlight some student leadership and really get a student council going. So with the help the first 2 years with Abdi Aziz, who's here in the audience, we started with a small group and really did a few activities, got some, feedback from that small group, and, did some activities around school. But this year we are just taking it to another level with the thanks to 2 of our student support specialists, Kylie Peterman and Jennifer Gonzalez. They've just done an amazing job getting a bigger pool of students and really focusing on something for everybody, and really building, a place where people want to be and feel like they want to belong. So some areas that we focused on was historically Mondays and Fridays at Ashland Middle School, and I'm guessing probably at the other schools as well, are the poorest days for attendance. So actually going to a leadership conference, they have an amazing Oregon Association of Student Councils group that has a conference every spring, and one of the things we learned there, an idea we learned there last year, was doing a Monday morning raffle. Again, like something exciting, something to bring kids into the building that they're excited for. So we do a Monday morning raffle, and I will share in a slide towards the end, we have seen an increase in attendance specifically on Mondays. And then student council, these gentlemen, along with probably like 25 other students at least. We have probably 25, 30 students on student council, have really been running some lunchtime activities, and specifically like a Fun Friday activity. So something like trivia or scavenger hunts. We have an area of the middle school called the Cubs Corner, which is right outside Abdiaziz's office, that we have board games and crafts, and the crafts changes every day. We've had hosted different sports tournaments. And of course, one of the highlights at Ashland Middle School is our skate park. So kind of something for everybody during lunchtime to engage in. And then another thing that we have focused on is what we call Blue and Gold Awards, and those are awarded typically every Friday, usually to highlight a student that maybe not be, recognized often, and it can be for anything. Teachers come up with like the best chair stacker, of the week, so just kind of funny, silly awards, and they get little incentives of like AMS stickers or swag, things like that. And then the highlight that we just wrapped up was we had a very successful, which we called our Winter Candyland Dance. And we're bringing dances back to AMS, and it's pretty exciting. So these gentlemen are here to talk a little bit about it. On the next slide, which you might have in front of you, here's just some of the highlights that we've had face painting at lunch, we've hosted Pictionary, we really engage our student council in making the announcements in the morning of who's won the raffles, or announcing what activities we have at lunch. We had a really fun Spirit Week. The gentleman in the slide is demonstrating the formal wear and mustache day that we had. And then, of course, our Blue and Gold Awards. In your email, if you open up your email. So the Candyland Dance, so it was a fundraiser for our student council, because taking the group to Seaside is, costs money. So we are doing a fundraiser, and it was also a fundraiser for our student unions. Each student union hosted a table there that they were either selling food or glow sticks or something. So gentlemen, how did this idea come to fruition?
Well, we had a dance last year that ended pretty well. A lot of people had a lot of fun, and one of the best things, in my opinion, was that in order for people to attend this dance, there had to be like no referrals the week of the dance, and you had to attend school on the day of the dance. So we had like increased attendance by a lot that whole week, because a lot of people really wanted to attend the dance, and there was like a lot less referrals and stuff like that.
It's true.
Yeah, and also in student council, like how we made up the idea was like that we had like a giant brainstorming session, and like everyone had to like agree, and then we like came to like a conclusion that like the Candyland Dance. I necessarily didn't want the Candyland Dance as my first option, but we got outvoted, and then we just started working on that, and then it turned out to be really well.
Yeah, we had like one or two student council like meetings a week where everybody on student council would like attend a meeting during like the last class of our day, and we could like brainstorm like what different foods and different items and like costs of things we wanted to sell, and like ticket prices and how we would sell that type of thing to brainstorm.
And everybody put a lot of work into this. What are some other steps that were taken to make the dance actually happen? Because I know you guys did do a lot of work.
Yeah. So we started with like Kylie Peterman. She made like a map of like the gym, and then we like put like the stuff that we wanted to add into the Candyland Dance on like the thing, and then we like started making like the props. We had like this candy house or something made out of like cardboard and paper. And then we also started working on like the balloons. We had to blow up a lot of balloons. Yeah, and you want to say something?
Yeah, we had like organized times where during a student council member meeting, we would like sign up for different activities. Some of them, like most of them, were like during the week of the dance. So we would have people like come after school to like help blow up balloons or do different like crafts to like hang up because the dance was in the gym. So we kind of like Matthew said, they made a map of like all the tables and where the different food would be. And so after that, we kind of scheduled like different times where we would like make all the designs and different things to add to the dance.
Great, thank you. So last question is, what did you learn from planning this dance? What's something we'll do differently in the spring if we have a spring dance?
I learned that it definitely worked really well to have like no referrals and attendance on that day, because it definitely really did help. And also we had a bit of a balloon crisis involving popping of the balloons. So I think either no balloons next year or hanging balloons higher would be a good idea.
So the short kids can't reach them.
Anything, Matthew, you want to share? Something that you learned, positive or like something that didn't go well?
I learned how to procrastinate on making a dance. We had like all the props made in like the last week, and then on like the last day, like we just barely got all the stuff done. And we like I also learned that like it was like just like actually like really fun, but making the dance and then like seeing it all come together.
Yep.
Yeah.
It was great for the kids to see that like planning from the beginning to the end and see it come to fruition. It was for the staff too. Our staff really got into it as well. So we did end up raising over $1,500 for to put towards our trip to Seaside. So that was super exciting. And the unions raised about $200 between the Latino Student Union, Black Student Union. Who else was there? Asian Student Union was there. And they were, anything from selling cotton candy to glow sticks. So that was that. And then Abdi Aziz passed me a note. Another thing that the Student Council did is we did a penny drive for Asheville Middle School in North Carolina, and they raised $1,200 just via pennies. Yep. Yeah. So these are all these just, really positive, again, really trying to target that tier 1 intervention, that you hear about of just like, what are we doing for all kids that they want to be engaged in school and their behavior is improving, their attendance is improving, we hope. Then there's some adorable pictures of kids at the Candyland Dance. So with this commitment on a positive school climate and community has led to, we have seen an increase in our attendance because we've seen a 7% decrease in our chronically absent students this year. Steve, Mr. Retzloff is really dedicated to tracking attendance this year and really looking at it on a regular basis and just, again, like what trends are we seeing? What are the positive things we can do to make kids want to engage in school more? So we're hoping by the end of the year we'll see even more improvement. So again, we have seen improvement specifically on Mondays. Friday, we haven't cracked the code yet. And then decrease in office referrals, it hasn't happened yet. It's a slightly increased this time year to date between last year and this year. I think there's a lot of reasons for that. But as Quinlan pointed out, the week of the Candyland Dance was our lowest office referrals. Not many coming through that week, and our attendance was really the strongest that we'd seen. So again, these positive things, thanks to our student council, thanks to Kylie Peterman, Jennifer Gonzalez, Abdi Aziz, really creating that positive community at AMS. And that's all we have. Any questions?
I just have a comment. Chronic absenteeism, as we know, is so significant right now post-COVID, and all of the school districts in Jackson County are facing this really significant issue. And I'll talk a little more during board reports, but I'm thrilled to see how you're addressing that head on and the success you're having. Yeah. So thank you so much for that work and to the work for the students to make sure kids are coming to school and they feel valued and that there's fun things to do. Thanks.
That's the whole name of the game. Thank you, Eva.
I have a question about, I'm sorry, I didn't catch your name.
Matthew?
Yeah, Matthew. So if you were not in favor of the Candyland Dance, what was the idea that you wanted?
Well, actually, me, Quinlan, and like a couple other of our friends, we wanted like a Halloween dance, but like we had the idea, and when we started like brainstorming for the dance, it was 2 weeks before, and 2 weeks is not enough time to put together a dance.
And we kind of found that out the hard way.
Yeah, and so we had to not do that because obviously 2 weeks is not enough time.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank
That was
you.
great. I can't wait to hear the update next spring.
Yes,
See what
for sure.
happens. Thank you. Okay, so we will move on to our recurring reports. First up is AHS student report. We have Owen and Ella, oh, Azalea's here tonight. Okay.
Hi, I am taking the place of Ella Robinson tonight because she cannot make it due to athletic interruptions. So she's not here, but I'll be taking her spot. For the update for the high school, 2 things have been happening mainly that I've been kind of in track of. So the blood drive we did end up having, and it went really well. We actually surpassed Grants Pass in donors, which is a really big accomplishment for Ashland because it's a smaller school for sure, but like we got so many students to come and donate, and same with community members too. So it was just a really, really successful blood drive. So that was awesome. And then our Winter Fine Arts Festival is tomorrow night at 7 o'clock. So if anyone wants to come and watch that, it'll be great. There's going to be performances from the music students as well as some of the theater students, and then the culinary and arts programs will be showcasing as well. So definitely something that the community should come and check out if they're feeling like they want to.
Also in other news at AHS, this week we've been having 2 dueling drives. We have one, our animal shelter drive, where we are having students and their families donate various paraphernalia related to animals, whether that be blankets, leashes, food, that we are donating to the animal shelter. We also have a clothing and food drive that we are doing at the same time, which is this week. It ends tomorrow. And that's for, we're having, again, families donate canned food, packaged food, clothing that we are then donating. And that's run by some people in leadership who are taking that on as their senior project. So we have some people really committed to making a change at the school in that level. In other news, sporting related, yesterday we had a girls basketball game, and tomorrow we have a boys basketball game. So if anybody wants to show up to that, that would be very, very appreciated, and we have some fun things planned. So it's not just a basketball game. And then as well, coming up, we have next week, which is the week before our winter break, we have our big Friday rally. Before we go off to winter break, we encourage all students to participate in this as we are putting on some really fun, engaging events, and kind of similar to what they were talking about at AMS, with going into a break like this, it's hard to build up momentum when you know you have an extended period of time where you're going to be away from campus. So targeting those, as you said, tier 1, base level kind of everybody can get involved, small activities. That's what we've been doing through passing out hot chocolate on the quad, selling candy canes with little gratitude notes. So those are just some things we've been doing to pass the time and promote community. So, yeah.
What time is the basketball game tomorrow?
Oh, you're putting me on the spot. Do you know?
I believe that it's. Oh yeah,
Thank you.
I was gonna say yeah,
Director.
6:45.
Thank you.
There you go. Yeah.
Okay, and the rally you were talking about, is that something that's during school?
Yes, it's during school hours.
Okay.
So everybody should be there no matter what.
All right, thank you.
I have a quick question. So I have towels that have been sitting in my car waiting to donate to go to the animal shelter. How do I do that? Tell me specifically what I do.
Okay, so the main office will be having donation boxes, I believe, that you can bring clothing, towels, food to bring into, and same with the library. I believe that we're like opening them up for donations at 4 o'clock, and it's going to go from 4 to 5, I believe. So within that hour and like maybe a little bit before, I think they're setting up around 3:30. Which day, 4 to 5? Tomorrow. Yes.
It's been
yes.
running throughout this entire week and tomorrow. Yeah.
Yes, yeah. So that's just like this week from 4 to 5 at any of those times.
And also one last note briefly on the clothing drive. That's been in conjunction with APD. So we're really grateful for their participation in that.
All right, thank you. So next up, I have a report with Alan Porowski.
Thanks. Well, it's pretty short tonight, and there's only 2 lines about budget cuts in here, so you can take a breath. Statement from the AEA leadership. All AEA members, from our teachers to our counselors, to our nurses, to our school psychologists, to our coaches, just to name a few, are working hard every single day and are vital to the success of our students. We know there are challenging times ahead, and the future is uncertain for some of our members and many of our staff. We will keep showing up every day, like we always do, to take care of the Ashland community's children and provide them with the best educational experience possible. Reports from the different schools. Ashland Connect. We have been embracing the colder weather and creating lots of winter crafts together. Our program continues to have more applications each day, and we are working on ways to continue to improve and grow our program. Amanda has had the opportunity for lots of relevant professional development that has been funded by SOESD and other outside sources, which has been great. We are very much looking forward to finding actionable ways we can ensure our program is continuing to attract Ashland students who do not attend Ashland schools with help from district leadership. At AMS, the school play Newsies starts tonight and will continue on Friday and Saturday nights at 7 p.m. The band concert will be on December 19th at 7 p.m. The members of the Scavenger Hunt placed second in the Valley's competition, and last Friday was the Candyland Dance, a device-free event that was a huge success. And don't forget to dream big. 5 years ago at the high school, we had a sewer-themed dance, and it was epic. It was Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and slime pits. Okay. Hellman, nothing from Bellevue got here in time. Hellman says, Oregon Battle of the Books teams are practicing every day after school with adult volunteers, and affinity groups have also started meeting twice a month. The Ashland Food Co-op generously provided a grant to assist with the weekend backpack program that provides additional resources to students with food scarcity. The Snowflake Project connects families who wish to donate over the holidays with families who could use additional support. There are still numerous families who are looking for assistance with holiday food and gifts if anyone in the community would like to donate to Hellman's Food Backpack Program. Kids are adapting to the cooler weather and appreciating Ms. Corinne's dedication to keeping recess outdoors. Trail says we are gearing up for our winter fair, which includes student-crafted items for sale, with proceeds benefiting our school and our outdoor ed program. Students have been loving the variety of outdoor Fridays, from Lithia Park to the SOU Farm to hiking in Ordston Todd and more. Our math intervention program is still struggling, and it is unclear whether high-risk students are being tracked for IEP needs or not. But we look forward to the next days of creating special moments for our students and families. At Walker, the Walker Wolves presented their Walker Winter Shows yesterday with our K-2 students showcasing the Very, Very Gingerbread Man, and our 3 through 5 grade students performing in Snow Way Out. We are so grateful to have such a fantastic music program and our dedicated and talented music teacher, Ms. Emily Jeffs. Our PTO continues to do amazing work and has put together a Winter Makers Market. Walker students are engaging in craft projects to create holiday gifts for friends and family. Thank you, PTO. Our primary grades are really feeling the impact of staff cuts with high class sizes and some challenging student needs. In November, we said thank you and farewell to our longtime head custodian, Lisa March. We congratulate her on her new job opportunity. Walker staff have been so impressed with our new custodians who have stepped up and made the building sparkle. Thank you to Ashley Rogers Brown and Deborah Gotage. Our building is looking amazing. And last, Willow Wynn says we are gearing up for a busy and entertaining week. Tomorrow, the 6th grade class will perform 2 plays as part of their study on ancient civilizations. They will be presenting both Phaeton and the Sun Chariot and also Pandora. Next week, we have the Winter Fair on Wednesday evening, whereby families gather to celebrate the season and share crafts, games, tea, and good conversation. All classes are busy creating winter crafts and gifts and are wrapping up academic units in preparation for 2 weeks of rest. Staff and families are very concerned about how budget cuts will play out this year and in the long term. Cut days can mean economic hardship for many members of our staff, and families are worried about how changes may impact class sizes and program offerings. And that is it from the front lines.
Thank you, Alan. Any questions? No? All right, then we will move on to OSCA report with, oh wait, you're not James. Stephen has sick.
No,
It's wrong.
I'm Stephen,
Thank you.
OSCA chapter president. James is down at Newsies tonight.
Oh, very nice.
His opening night. Super exciting from what I've heard from him. It's going to be a great show. He's helped build the set and get the sound going. And there's been some collaboration with the Mountain Avenue Theater down at the high school to get supplies over there back and forth. So should be a great show. More shows on Friday and Saturday at 7 p.m. So try to get down there. Also reporting, I don't know if you guys mentioned it, the scavenger hunt was, I think, earlier this month. So the annual scavenger hunt, there's an AHS team and then there's an AMS combined with Trails team. I'm just reporting for the AMS Trails team. James Johnson was the coach and advisor this year. And it's a 3-day scavenger hunt where they have to answer 45 questions and clues. And then with their answers, they have to cite all their sources and then get it all together in one big document. So huge thanks to Debbie Larson, who helped make the document happen and get that turned in on time. And from what I hear, they got second place overall, the AMS Trails team. And a lot of interesting things happened with their answers because they cited their sources so well. The minimum is you have to cite one source. They were citing 2 or 3 for all of their questions. And one of the questions was different from what the hunt director was looking for, but because it was so well sourced, they gave them the full points. So yeah, and this document was a 49-page document of questions and answers, so a lot of work for these middle school kids and the advisors. There was an interesting question that kind of came up on the adjudication event day. They were asked to bring a favorite poem from a librarian, and typically the scavenger hunt is coached and advised by the school librarians who have a wealth of knowledge on how to research and cite documents, teach students how to do all of that. And currently Ashland School District does not have school librarians on site. So students did not have a favorite poem to bring from a librarian. AHS, you guys mentioned the supply drive. There's also going to be another supply drive next week with Truth to Power. If you don't get your stuff in for this one, just another opportunity to get some more stuff in. That'll be Friday from 4 to 6 and Saturday from 11 to 2. Truth to Power is going to be out and they're picking up clothing supplies for unhoused community members in Ashland. And donating that to Peace House, OHRA, and some other organizations in the Valley. So, and they're looking for clothes, warm weather clothes, hygiene, anything that you might think of. Check out the website for all that details when they come out. And then last week at the Mountain Avenue Theater, Trails had a concert hosted by their music teacher, Sage Meadows. And our theater coordinator, Lawrence Alford at the high school, reported that it was a great show and he was super excited to run the boards for the show. It was really well organized and the students did awesome. And I guess it all happened, I mean, they've all been practicing, but there was no rehearsal or anything. They just came, they did it all, and it all just went flawlessly. So if you saw that, let us know. And then in business news, OSCA, our chapter has presented the district with some request for information and a demand to bargain in regards to possible actions that might impact our classified staff's livelihood and our compensation. Last week, we put out a survey to our staff about some possible actions, and we had a significant portion of our staff participate in that and presented some of that current summary data to the district 2 days ago, Tuesday, during our labor management committee. We are hopeful for the district's plan that they'll be presenting tonight, and are waiting to hear that. So we wish everybody happy holidays and safe travels in comfort and with solidarity in mind. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Stephen. Any comments or questions?
Well, I just wanted to pass along from the board our best wishes to Lisa March, and thank you for her service. Please pass that along to her.
Yes, and Lisa was our previous president, and so excited for her. She is going to be working with OSEA at the regional level, so she'll be up in the North Schools, Grants Pass. Super excited for her.
All right, thank you. Okay, so next up, we have board reports. If anybody wants to kick us off?
You want me to kick off?
Go ahead.
Okay. All right, well, I've been very busy volunteering with Sunstone Housing Collaborative to bring forth a project that this community can be proud of and execute on the promise for affordable and workforce housing for families and staff. In all the lessons learned across the country with similar projects that school districts have embarked upon, we set out not just to increase the supply of housing, but to create a community within a community where families would want to live and raise their children. And along the way, the same question we kept asking ourselves, we have heard the community ask. How are you going to ensure that this development is available for families, over and over again, and that it's affordable in perpetuity? And these questions are the right questions. We're all asking the same thing. And we've all seen the promises of affordable housing. We've seen only to see overpriced homes get built. We've all seen a lack of follow-through on committed housing for families with empty lots sitting vacant instead of a family being able to build their home. And then the many roadblocks that come along the way. So we set out to answer that question. We all agree we don't need another housing project selling 250 square foot homes for $500,000. We're all on the same page. This is precisely why this grassroots, organic, ground-up, innovative idea to build a mixed-income, 120% area median income and below, with land-trusted units, subsidized rents, and grant-funded building is so complex. It's not an easy question to answer. Yet there's a reason we are constantly disappointed in the promises made for affordable housing, and those concerns we all share. We shared it on the Innovation Committee, and it's why 2 years ago we didn't just partner with the developer, cross our fingers, and hope for the best. It's why several volunteers have spent countless hours just building the asks, just to make sure we receive responses from teams of experts who could come together to build something that everyone can benefit from and feel proud of. So we are keeping these affordable, and how we are attracting and occupying these. So how are we keeping these affordable and attracting these for families in perpetuity? We're doing it in several ways. I'm going to try to keep it as simple as possible, and I'm going to answer that question. So there's several different mechanisms to do this, and we're using all of them. First of all, it starts with purposeful design. So we partnered with an architect, a local architect that we trust, to build the master plan designed for families. So that means we include a playground. This is going to be a co-location of childcare, on-site childcare, bike storage, community gardens. Just the design of the project attracts families. We also, the second mechanism is through unit sizes. A majority of this housing project will be 2 and 3 bedroom units. Now, the funding mechanisms for 2 and 3 bedroom units require our grant funding, state and federal funding, low-income tax credits. All of these mechanisms require deed restrictions that mean that you can only sell those units to people who qualify under HUD requirements. The HUD requirements, which are listed on the RFP, which is in the Sunstone Housing website, which this is on the addendum page. This is what all of the units will be required to follow in order to qualify to live in each of those units. So for example, a four-person family who applies for a 2 or 3 bedroom unit cannot make more than $105,000 if they're 120% area median income or below, if that unit has that qualification attached to it. Or if they're 60% area median income, they cannot make more than $52,000 a year. This could.
That's total household.
Total household income. That's total household income. All of those are restricted for up to 60 years. So that's an additional mechanism. Another part is development partners. The reason why the master plan was created, again, was to make sure that we attracted responses to the RFP of qualified, experienced, affordable housing builders. So these are people who do this for a living. This is all they do. These aren't for-profit builders. And we can't share with you yet, but I can share with you that we had 9 responses of comprehensive, very expert teams that have everything from the financial piece to the builder to property management, land trust, and so forth. So that's another mechanism. Community engagement and local partnerships. So the community engagement piece, we are at the very beginning of the community engagement piece, and this will be an ongoing process. So the initial master plan is just the first iteration, but this will go through several iterations based on community feedback. And that community engagement piece allows us to look for partnerships where there are families that are looking for housing. So for example, SOU, they have family housing that has a wait list of 100 families that have no place to live. These are SOU students, and they want to live in our community. So we will partner with SOU. OCDC, we already have a partnership with them to be the on-site childcare provider, and they have families that want to live here. So we create those lists and have those to pull from as we look for future residents. There's a lot more, but I know I'm already taking too much time, so I'll just get to the land trust. There's also something called a community land trust. Community land trusts allow you to own, a nonprofit owns the land. Community land trusts were a part of every single proposal we received. By the land trust owning the land, it makes the affordability of the unit much easier to afford. So they can buy the building on top of the land. It's got a controlled appreciation mechanism, so the home can only appreciate 3 to 5% a year, not the same rate at market rate, but it still builds in a mechanism where that family can hopefully build equity in the home where they can buy a house on the open market. Land trusts typically have a turnover rate of about 7 years. And then lastly is just mission alignment. One of the Sunstone was purely created from the enrollment committee to pursue affordable housing for families. That is their mission. So they looked for responses of the RFP that had mission alignment. And that's really important with a local grassroots project like this one. So been very busy and looking forward for the next steps.
Thank you, Jill. Anybody else?
I'll go. Well, okay. Thank you, Jill. I've been doing a lot of listening in the past month. Some of that has been in person or over coffee, which is my favorite way to do that. Some of that is by reading email. And we read every email that we receive and we digest it for discussion. Some of that was at the community listening sessions. Thank you for putting those on. I was really glad to hear a very wide variety of voices at those. And the biggest concern I heard is about our budget and how this is going to affect our kids. I did spend 60 hours of volunteer time on school board activities, including Sunstone Housing Collaborative efforts, born out of the district's innovation committee. Clearly, I'm underemployed right now. I cannot take credit for the origin of the enrollment committee stuff. I wish I could because I think they're awesome. But I do want to recognize the work that Sabrina Prudhomme and Samuel and you, Eva, did in pushing for these in across 2022 and early 2023, because we were ahead of the curve in really looking at the problems facing the district and recognizing that we need to solve these problems with really creative ideas and that we don't have the money as a district to do them. So thank you for putting those together. The subcommittee on enrollment was created to figure out how to attract new families to Ashland. And it was operating under the premise, this is all from the minutes, that there is not a sustainable way to run the district if we cannot increase enrollment. That was the premise of the committee. So the budget crisis that we're facing right now from declining enrollment is not new. It has been a downward slide this whole century. And it forced the closure of Lincoln and Briscoe schools even before the end of open enrollment. But all that was way before my time. So I was elected to the board just last year. I joined the enrollment subcommittee because mostly it fit with my schedule, but also it's a good match for my professional experience. I was really pleased to work on that committee. It was nearly 20 people. It was mostly community members. We also had staff and board. We really dug into the problems and solutions to present to the board, and all that happened through public meetings, periodic progress updates, monthly board reports, a couple inflection points of board action over the past year. And we got very little feedback on this until very recently. Any of the subcommittees of the Innovation Committee, we got very little feedback on this stuff until very recently. But I also realized that last year, we were looking for a new superintendent. And so that was really kind of the top of people's minds. So all the subcommittee stuff are really long-term solutions for a later date. They're big and they're fun and they're about revenue. It's not what we're talking about tonight. So tonight is really about short term. We're talking about next 6 months. And I expected that to be all about major cuts to expenses and to staff. And so I look forward to Joseph's presentation. We're later going to talk about midterm, which is about getting the district budget to where it should be after COVID, according to best practices. That also will be mostly about reducing expenses and staff. But then over the next few months, we are going to get to talk about the long term, and that's where we get to talk about revenue and dreaming about growth. And so I'm really glad that, thanks to all your work, that we have the Innovation Committee work to build on. So for tonight, I would just ask people to listen to what our superintendent and lead team came up with for here and now. And over the next couple of years, please keep letting us know what you think. Get involved where you can. We really love, I've said this before, I really appreciate everybody's input, even when it's challenging. We do take our job seriously of doing what's best for our students, and not just now, but as far into the future as we can see. And we really can't do it without a lot of us working together in your input, so thank you. Oh, I also did go to, Stephen, I went to the trails thing. It was cool.
Okay, so I attended 2 budget listening sessions and have been reading all of the emails sent to the board. So I just really want to reassure everybody that, again, we all read every piece of email that's sent to us. And the budget listening sessions were really important. And I really appreciate the ability to hear what the community and our staff have to say about where we're at right now with our budget and where we're going to be going. So again, very appreciative of our community. On a different note, this past weekend, I did my most favorite thing that I do in December, which is to go up to Pinehurst School, up to the Green Springs, and for their winter fair and get my Christmas tree, which was a whopping $25. And they do an incredible holiday fair, and so I got the opportunity to support Pinehurst School. Remember that those are K through 6 kids who do end up coming to us from middle and high school. So I want to encourage people next year, when you're thinking about a holiday tree, head up there. They always have snow. It's really festive, and they have tons of trees that they harvest up there. The other thing I just wanted to talk a little bit about, I alluded to earlier, is I'm doing research on chronic absenteeism here in Jackson County. And the chronic absenteeism means more than 10% of the school year that a student has missed. The implications are really significant for kids. When they miss more than 10% of school, they lose really important learning. They lose really important socializing and socialization with their students. There's been a new research out about the fact that chronic absenteeism impacts mental health of teachers. And so it's really important to recognize, too, that there are broader implications when kids don't attend school. And, of course, there's fiscal implications, too. So all of us in Jackson County, all the school districts are having the highest rates of chronic absenteeism now than we've had historically. A lot of it has to do with post-COVID. And I just really want to call out AMS. It's very important to think about what can we do to reverse the trends that we've seen nationally, statewide, and locally with chronic absenteeism. And I just want to encourage parents. A lot of times parents don't understand how important it is that their kid attends school excused or unexcused. Both of those things, even if it's an excused absence, it has an impact. So I just want to encourage families to really think about very carefully about when you have your kids stay home from school. Okay.
All right, I'll keep this relatively brief. One of the high points for me was attending the first public listening session that was hosted at the high school. Among other things, I think it's a great model of communication from the district to the community and back again. Like being able to connect and share ideas and have difficult conversations is profoundly healing, among other things. And the feedback I've gotten from community members, the high points of it were like human, it was real connection. Not everything was polished and perfect, but it felt real and true, and difficult, but also positive. And so I was really pleased to be there for that, and thank you for putting that on. And I look forward to more things like that in the future. I had a meeting with Dr. Hattrick just this week to get filled in on what the district has been doing in response to the budget crisis. I'm very heartened, and I won't jump ahead on anything, but I appreciate the level of work that's happening and the amount of transparency. I can say that I know a great deal at this point, and that was. I'm pleased to have that access, so thank you. The big thing for me in the last month is I've had a lot of conversations with community members, mostly around not just the budget, but around the Sunstone project. And concerns about whether or not it can fulfill its promise, and secondarily, largely, its impact on kids potentially and athletics. I want to point out, like in particular, these in-person meetings have been, with me, almost entirely positive. Like a lot of hard questions I don't have all the answers to, questions that need to be answered, before we cross any finish line. But in particular, there were a few people that I met with that were really focused on solutions, not just what they were upset about, what they were worried about, but actually sitting down at the table with me and brainstorming, like, how do we solve it? Can we make it all happen? Are there ways to do this project and mitigate any impact on community or kids or so on? And we don't have the answers yet, but we do have a lot of people that are working towards it, and I'm really pleased by that. And finally, I'd like to say about that, though some of these discussions were difficult at times, all of our actions should be able to stand up to vigorous questioning. If we're not comfortable sitting down and dealing with hard questions about it, there's an issue with what we're doing. And so I appreciate all of the community members who've called me or sat down with me, and I hope that that continues in the future, and as we work forward on these projects. And on a final bright note, I went to the 6th grade performance at Willowin today. It was awesome. Those kids are fantastic. And seriously, like, they memorized so much that I was very impressed. I would not have been able to do that at any point in my life. So that's my board report.
All right, thank you, Russell. So obviously, we are all sort of on the same theme, because we've all been going through this for the last few weeks. But I also had the opportunity to go to 3 of the listening sessions, and I was very impressed by, the openness of the presentation that we heard, but also the back and forth that happened there, and how positive in general it was. And I know we all really appreciate hearing from the community, and especially when it's in a situation like that, where it is open and there's a lot of communication, and it felt really good. And as you know, we are accessible. Please reach out to us. We do read all your email, and we appreciate hearing from the community. So I'm going to shift gears a little bit and talk about some more fun stuff that has been happening. So I had my first meeting with the high school OBOB team this week, and I just want to say to everybody out there, this is such a fantastic program, Oregon Battle of the Books. Hopefully you're all familiar with it. As Stephen, I think you mentioned earlier, things have changed quite a bit with our libraries. Typically, also for Oregon Battle of Books, as well as Scavenger Hunt, it tends to be a librarian who sort of spearheads those programs. And so this year in particular, I know schools are really looking for parent and community volunteers to help out. So if anybody is interested in participating in OBOB, it's really the wonderful kids, wonderful books. It's a lot of fun. And if you reach out to your school library or contact me, I can put you in touch with anybody. They are definitely looking for more volunteers to help with those programs. And I'm going to put in a plug for the Winter Fine Arts Festival, which is such an amazing evening. It's the one time in the year where you can see every single art program on display. They have, all the actual fine arts programs have their paintings and jewelry. I mean, everything is out there for you to look at. There's also live performances by every one of our performance groups, including theater and music, and dinner, which is made by our culinary students. So it's a very fun, festive evening. That's tomorrow night. Thank you. It starts at 5:30 with dinner and viewing the exhibits, and then a show at 7 o'clock. And all the proceeds that are generated from ticket sales go directly back to our students and classrooms through the Ashland High Arts Advocates. So it's a great evening. And I think I will stop there. Okay. So next up, we have a report from our student board representatives, and we have Owen and Azalea again.
Aside from what we've already mentioned, I just have one other thing, which is related to just our own knowledge and education about the budget crisis. We had the pleasure of sitting down with Dr. Hattrick, us student board representatives and student leaders, just to kind of have an info session and learn about it in digestible ways, and also be involved in just an open dialogue about possible solutions and how that would affect students. So I just wanted to put that out there, that students are being consulted, involved in this process, and that's really great. So.
I don't have much else to add besides that either. I do know that there is, at least I'm trying to put on a type of newsletter that is reflecting these meetings to go into the school's newspaper. So that way it's getting more students can get a better view on what's happening. So that's why I'm taking notes right now. But so I think for me, that's something I'm doing just to educate. I feel like more students so it's easier for them to get a read on kind of what we're talking about here, especially things having to do with like the budget crisis and other things like that. So
That is fantastic. I want to commend you for doing that. Thank you.
Thank you. So for you guys who don't normally come to meetings, I just want to say this having our student board representatives is a new thing that started last year, and we've been so happy to be able to welcome you guys to join us up here. So thank you. We really appreciate what you do as well. Okay, so next we are going to move on to public comment. And I just want to point out that we actually have two separate, I'm getting some more Thank you. We're going to have two separate opportunities for public comment tonight. The first is our more general, where anybody can speak, and later in the agenda, we will have comments that are specifically related to the budget presentation, which we will hear from Dr. Hattrick later. If you are interested in speaking on the budget, I believe we will still be taking these requests. If something comes up during that presentation that you would like to comment on, you can still submit this at the end of his presentation. So let me just take a look. See, this one's tricky because it's about both. I guess I'll just ask you, Tia, would you rather speak now or after the budget presentation? Okay. Okay, so before we get started, I'm just gonna, this is, sort of our standard request for public comment. You will be asked to state your name and your city of residence. Only items of public or educational interest should be discussed. Please do not discuss any individuals or complaints against individuals. Comments are limited to 2 minutes. Russell, are you our timekeeper again? Russell will be our timekeeper. So at the end of 2 minutes, he will give me a subtle signal that time is up. And we have an overall limit of 30 minutes for the comments in total, which I don't believe we will go over. So that should be fine. And the final thing is public comments are not debated during the meeting. While the school board appreciates your input, these meetings are not intended to be these statements are not intended to be a public meeting, hearing, or dialogue. Your comments may be followed up with the appropriate person in the district's chain of command. Okay, so we can start with, let's see, Josie Christensen.
Okay. My name is Josie Christensen, and I am a member of the Ashland community. Good evening. I am a student athlete at Ashland High School. I appreciate the opportunity to speak tonight. I'm here to share why I believe selling one of our school's athletic fields to build housing is not the right choice. As a student who's grown up playing sports here, this field has been a crucial part of my development, and I know it means just as much to so many others. I've been playing soccer on this field since I was little, from the first time I kicked a ball with my friends in elementary school to the practices and games I've had in high school. This field has been more than just a place to play. So I've learned teamwork, discipline, and resilience, skills which have shaped me into who I am. It's where I've made lasting friendships, gained support from coaches, and found confidence in myself. For me and many other students, this field is where we've grown, not just as athletes, but as individuals. If we lose this space, it's not just a sports field that's gone. It's a part of what makes our school special. Without this field, we risk losing the momentum our sports programs have built. More students have been joining teams and participating in sports as of the last few years. Losing this space could discourage future student athletes, and I worry about it reducing the sense of school pride that comes from hosting events here, since I know as a member of AHS leadership that we have been working so hard to increase that. Beyond that, this field is a place where students from all grades come together. Whether they're cheering at a game, running on the field, or just spending time outdoors, losing that sense of community will be like losing a chunk of our identity. I understand the need for housing, but I believe we can find solutions that don't come at the cost of our students' athletic futures. This field has given me so much. It's been a foundation for my success, and I'm sure many others will say the same. It's not just grass and lines. It's where we grow, learn, and come together as a community. I ask that you keep this space for us. Our students and community deserve a place to play, to grow, and to succeed. Lastly, my question for you all for the long term, if you take away this vital athletic space, what will you do for the thousands of Ashland athletes to compensate for this? Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you. Next, I have Brett Lutz with an umlaut.
Good evening. My name is Brett Lutz, and I am a resident of Ashland. I have 3 kids in the school system, and I've been a soccer coach in the community since 2017 and a resident since 2006. I'm here to ask that you please reconsider the plans to sell Lincoln Field. The field space is needed for athletics. It has been used when it has been available, and it will be used if it continues to be available. There's definitely some safety concerns if athletes are required to use different fields, and there's also transportation concerns and concerns about traffic with the construction. We are projecting increases in soccer and baseball players, and use of that field would be pretty critical. I think you guys all received the letter that my wife and I sent regarding this, and while we do support faculty for sure and affordable housing, I just don't think this is the right location to do it, because when you send students off-site to a place that's further away, it creates potential problems. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, and now I will call up Tia McLean.
Two in one. It's a 2-in-1. I know, I'm going to go so fast. My name's Tia McLean, I live in Ashland. I would like to first speak about the budget crisis. I empathize with you, Dr. Hattrick. You bravely inherited the dire sweeping impact of past decisions. I empathize with the school board, a group of volunteers who weren't consistently given clear information, who have no operational authority over district-wide decision-making. I empathize with our lead team, for whom global authority does not and did not exist. I empathize with our staff who did not create this crisis, who work hard daily to do our jobs and who have been advocating for years for proactive systems of communication, collaboration, and accountability. I empathize with our students who, next to staff, will be most impacted by this crisis. I'm hopeful that through legislative advocacy, fundraising, grant writing, district asset liquidation, equitable cuts in student-centered decision-making, the district can take some proactive steps to meet employees in the middle so staff aren't solely responsible for bridging the financial gap in a crisis that they did not create. I'd also like to speak about the soccer fields. First, many of our extra duty contracts are held by coaches who donate hundreds of hours to ensure students are safe, healthy, active, socially connected, and working towards something bigger than themselves. As a mom of athletes and as a teacher who has seen the positive impact of extra duty contracts on thousands of students, I want to say thank you to all of you unsung heroes who give generously of your time, talents, and hearts. Protective factors for students increase and risk factors decrease when they're involved in the activities like sports that our extra duty contracts provide. Extra duty contracts are why so many of our Ashland students come to school and stay in school. Thank you to our voters for the y'all levy. I see and share students and families' interests in access to safe practice fields. Even with the additional fields last year, in order to share them among 3 sports and 6 teams, students were practicing it at 6 a.m. and until 9 p.m. I also see and share the district's interest in selling property to provide much-needed affordable housing in Ashland and appreciate all of your innovation and hard work. I wonder about an alternative location for the housing project or using some of the money from the land sold to grade an existing field so students have a safe and accessible place to practice and play. To my knowledge, other district-owned fields are not yet safely graded. Recruiting and retaining families is vital if we are to weather this financial crisis. While we look towards investing in the future of our district with affordable housing, let's not forget the students who are in front of us needing our support right now. Thank you.
All right. I think we need to. I think we need to get a word count on that. That may be a record. A record. Thank you, Tia. Okay. Whew, I gotta catch my own breath. All right. Next up, we have superintendent report with Dr. Joseph Hattrick.
Well, I first need to catch my breath. Hang on. Well, thank you. All right. So first, I want to begin with a quick clarification. At one of the listening sessions last week, it may have been interpreted by some that I implied in one of my answers that a reporter whom I respect very much misreported. So I just want to clarify publicly that that was not at all what I meant. And I have full faith and respect, and I'm just going to call out the reporter that I may have been misinterpreted in Holly and the Ashland News. Simply just wanted to publicly clarify that in case there was any confusion. Excuse me. Next, I want to highlight, last night I had the privilege of attending the Walker Winter Concert. Incredible and so much fun, and I want to give kudos to Emily Jeffs. I think I spent as much time watching and celebrating the students as watching her and just in amazement with what she was doing. So that was a lot of fun. excited to share that I think we are extremely and hopefully close to wrapping up bargaining with AEA. So fingers crossed, we're getting there. Also, I'm looking forward to attending the Winter Fine Arts Festival at AHS tomorrow. That'll be a lot of fun. And if you all remember, this has now become one of the favorite days of the month because in the afternoon, I get to announce and celebrate with our high school student of the month at Ashland Rotary. So it's now become the tradition to repeat that celebration, and I'm going to read the announcement of our November Rotary Student of the Month now. So I apologize for just reading, but that's the easiest way. So it's my great privilege to stand before you today to recognize an exceptional student, Ivy Clayson, as the Ashland Rotary Club Student of the Month for November. Ivy is a grade 12 student at Ashland High School, and her accomplishments both in the classroom and on the field speak volumes about her character, work ethic, and leadership abilities. Ivy has truly distinguished herself in numerous ways. As a student athlete, she excels in soccer and softball, where her commitment to her team and her sport is evident. But it is more than just her athletic ability that sets Ivy apart. It's her unwavering dedication and positive attitude that make her a true leader. Several of Ivy's teachers and coaches have shared glowing testimonials about her. One teacher notes that Ivy is not only a standout student, but also a genuinely kind-hearted individual who makes a lasting impact on everyone she meets. Her work ethic is second to none, and she balances her academic responsibilities with her athletic pursuits with impressive grace. More than that, Ivy is a natural leader who inspires those around her through her actions and positivity, creating a supportive and united environment at Ashland High School. It's clear that Ivy's contributions to both the school and her community align perfectly with the values that the Rotary Club holds dear. Ivy is the heart of the Ashland High School's girls soccer team. As one coach put it, she leads her teammates with sincerity and enthusiasm. Whether it's waking up early for 6 a.m. practices or livening up the team bus with karaoke on late-night bus rides home, Ivy brings energy and joy to everyone around her. But her leadership doesn't stop there. Ivy's not afraid to speak up for what matters. Whether it's organizing school events or ensuring that her teammates are heard, Ivy exemplifies courage and respect. Her ability to keep her teammates motivated, even during the most exhausting moments, and to show sportsmanship regardless of the outcome is truly remarkable. In addition to her sports and leadership, Ivy is also an exceptional student. Whether it's excelling in challenging classes like anatomy and physiology or helping her peers in statistics, Ivy brings a spirit of collaboration and positivity to every aspect of her academic life. She's not only dedicated to producing high-quality work, but she also encourages others to do the same by volunteering to help in class and making sure that everyone has a chance to participate and succeed. Although Ivy's parents, John and Tori, are unable to join us today, well, now tonight, they're still out of town. As they're out of town, they should be incredibly proud of the young woman they have raised. And we are fortunate to have Ivy here, accompanying her by her leadership teacher, Sarah Weston was there earlier. She's not here tonight, but I think she's watching. Ivy, your hard work, determination, and positive attitude set you apart as a leader among your peers. You've made a lasting impact on your school and community, and we know that you will continue to do so in your future endeavors. It's an honor to celebrate your achievements today. And then, of course, conclusion. So that was a lot of fun, and I believe it's the new tradition to also highlight our Students of the Month for Rotary in the Ashland Living magazine. So that's also really exciting to share that with the community in that way. And so with that, I just wish all of our staff, family, students, and board members a very happy holiday season, and I hope that our staff get the restful break that they greatly deserve. So I'd be happy to answer any questions. Okay.
All right, thank you, Joseph. All right, so next up we have our capital bond report with Steve Mitchell and Mike Freeman.
Mike's still hot. Good evening, and thanks for having us as always. We're going to try to be as efficient as possible because we know there's a lot still left on this agenda. So this is going to be the board end of month report for November. Just a little bit of news I'll share. Our six-week look ahead as of this afternoon only has 4 weeks left on it. So we're getting towards the end of our project. There are a few things that are going to float out till this spring because we're still waiting for some equipment to show up. So we'll give a report to the board on what that is once we get there, but it should not impact occupation of any of the classrooms. So but we're coming towards the finish line, and so we'll give you an update on our November, and then next month, we should have kind of a final report for you.
Yeah, thanks, Steve. Again, pretty brief. Really just touching on the high school project, as that's really the remainder here, and we're right around the corner from completion, as Steve shared. At the Humanities Building, we're complete with the seismic upgrades, so that's now finished. We're wrapping up work in the South Tower, so that's the restroom addition there. Really completing the finishes around that piece. As far as the mechanical, electrical, plumbing goes, they're testing and balancing the new HVAC system in the Humanities Building. They're kind of fine tuning the last of the building automation system over there, so the controls for the HVAC and the lighting system. And really that'll be all wrapped up here at the end of the month in December. Elevator commissioning is ongoing. And then looking over at the science building, that's a flurry of activity over there as they're finishing up a lot of the finishes. So casework was installed in November. Again, the mechanical, electrical, and plumbing finishes and trim out was being completed. Over there, they're working on the building automation controls as well, working out the last of the bugs, doing kind of the functional testing there before we finish the kind of final commissioning sequence in that area. Over at the kind of remainder of the campus, the new chiller's installed for the gym. That won't be started up, though. That's one of those items that we've kind of been reporting out that's going to linger into the springtime as we're waiting the electrical gear to get here so we can start the new chiller up, but it'll be here just in time for the warm weather to hit. Fire alarm, so the new fire alarm system is being upgraded campus-wide. It's complete in humanities and science. We're kind of tailing the ancillary buildings there, getting devices put in, finding pathways there, and then that'll be commissioned and started up as well. It's likely that the fire alarm system and the ancillary buildings, so gym, theater, industrial arts, and such, those will kind of linger beyond the beginning of the year. But all in all, anything that we're kind of tracking right now that we will see go beyond December won't impact any of the operations or the move-in effort that's going to take place here in December over the winter break. So.
And then once we get into the new year, we will start talking about the next project, which will be the seismic retrofit work for summer of 2025. Some preliminary conversations look like that may extend into summer of 2026, just because of the amount of time it will take. And then we will also shortly into January have some recommendations for the board on some locations for our next solar project, which we're hoping to get underway this coming summer. And then just a way in advance notice, we are submitting for another seismic grant because I'm a glutton for punishment and just want to keep doing this for the rest of my career. We're looking at a seismic grant for Hellman Elementary for the cafeteria building that we're going to go after for next year, which would be summer 26, possibly summer 27 as we get down the road away. So we're hopeful that we'll get that and continue our work on retrofitting these buildings to be safer in earthquakes. So I'll keep you posted on that. We'll know May, usually May of this coming spring, if we are awarded that grant. And if so, then we'll go back at it again. So, any questions?
I think I actually saw an elevator going in. How soon is that going to be operational?
Elevators in. We've had some final punch work lists on that, and we are right now scheduling with the state. We have to get that inspected by the state, and so we're scheduling that for, I think, the middle of next week.
Oh.
And then we'll be able to take our inaugural trip from the first floor to the third floor. We should probably bring some
So
students along for that trip.
yes.
It's been 60 years in the
I'm going to
waiting.
be there with
so-
my bottle of champagne.
Yes.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Okay, I didn't say that.
Sparkling cider.
Martinelli's,
Sparkling
Martinelli's.
cider. Or you can stand across the street.
Okay. Thank you, Steve. Good
Anything
news.
else?
All right. Any other questions?
Would there be any economy of scale if seismic work was done at the same time for the summer next year, if that's possible to pull off?
Possibly, but we'll go out to bid like we always do and have a fair and equitable process to award to a contractor. And so if it ends up being the same contractor, possibly, but we'll go through that process and see how that works out.
Okay,
Yeah.
thanks.
Thank you. All right, thank you. Okay, so that brings us up to the December financial report with Scott Whitman.
Here we go. Holy cow, that's pretty small. Okay, thank you for sitting through that with me. So this is the monthly financial report, and we're going to switch to the new format that we that was introduced in our November 21st meeting with our OASBO consultant when we were looking at our revenues and expenses for the general fund. So again, we'll start with the general fund reports, the revenue reports. And again, we're going to be focusing on just the Fund 100, the main operational funds in our general fund. So we'll not be looking at, so these numbers will not include the funds 105 and 110, which we talked about earlier, which were the fundraising and fees accounts. So when we look at in the middle column here, we look at the total estimated revenues by the different funding sources. Not a lot of change from when this report was presented a couple weeks ago. The overall total hasn't changed a whole lot, although the activity since then has. We talked last month about collecting the bulk of our property tax receipts, and that did happen in November. So you can see in that second column there for our general property tax levy, over $15 million collected, and that's the bulk of our receipts for the year. Although we collect them throughout the year as we go on. Same with the youth activity levy funds. They're not part of that top section where we separate out our state school funding formula piece. The levy funds are coming in as well. Again, like I said, didn't mean to, which page is there? So the total revenues, again, we're very similar to what were projected those couple weeks ago at about a little under $38 million. On expenses, on the next page, again, this is looking at just general fund, our 100 funds. And again, not a lot of change to report from the report a couple weeks ago, although we did post the November payroll. So the actual expenses, would have increased for the payroll run in November. But then the encumbrances in the third column would have adjusted down by the payroll amounts. So the total estimate, again, is roughly the same as it was, right at the very bottom there, just under $39 million. And we spent some time talking a couple of weeks ago about the fifth column over where we're over or under budget. The items that are highlighted in yellow at this point are projected to be over budget, and we are looking into those to basically spending more time and attention there to see how we can do a better job of controlling that. We still have a lot more time to go in the year, so we'll get those as much as we can turned around and adjusted as we go. So those are the revenues and expenses in the general fund. The last piece of the report would be the appropriation report to look at how we project to do against our budget throughout our different fund accounts. So our general fund, and the appropriations do include the other two fundraiser and activity fee accounts. And again, we just updated the year-to-date expenses across all of our special revenue funds, debt service, capital project funds, and updated the encumbrances for the year. We are, I think, budget-wise, as far as maintaining our budget spending, we are mostly under budget. Again, going back to the support services in the general fund, we have to do a little bit of work there to turn that around for the year. One thing I want to mention, going back a little bit, is the projected expenses here are looking at where we stand as is. They did not take into account any of the proposed budget actions that Dr. Hattrick will present to you shortly, a little bit later on this evening. So I think what it does, it highlights, this is too sensitive for my fingers here, I'm sorry, flipping back and forth between pages. It does highlight, when we look at our revenues and expenses, that we would end the current school year with a negative fund balance of close to $1 million. So that does, again, highlight the need for the budget attention that we have for the past year and the budget actions that we need to take going forward to get the district back on the right track. So that's what I have for you. Are there any questions?
Where does the insurance fund live?
If we look on the third page there, those are part of our internal service funds. So the employee health insurance is accounted for. The revenues that come in from our internal assessments attached to payroll, the revenues go in there, and then the medical claims are paid out of that account.
So that's the 2,000? Is it number 2,000?
This entire, it's a 600 level fund.
The whole thing?
The expenses are reported under the support services function 2000s. So.
Can we talk briefly about the property tax estimate being different by 328,000?
Mm-hmm. So what this, the 15.2 million that's been received by December or through November is coming in at a little bit higher pace than last year. Of course, there's a higher levy that we assessed this year. I mean, the assessed values in Ashland go up by roughly 3% a year, a little bit more. The projection here shows that it should be coming in a little bit more than our budget, and that's something, the budget that we projected going into the year was 17.4 million. This, the formulas here are looking at prior collection rates that seem to be having come in a little bit high, so that's something I just want to watch going forward. On the revenue side, in the parentheses there, the negative 328,000, that would say that it's going to come in over the budgeted amount,
right?
Which we just need to be cautious of.
Yeah, I guess I'm just curious about where the discrepancy in estimation comes from. I know that there's a fluctuation in how they come in, and so we might not get all the property taxes in at the time that we would like them, and they come in over the course of the year. We ran into that last year.
They do. Yeah.
Still waiting for some of it.
One thing that might be a little bit different this year, depending on when the days of the month or how many weeks that Jackson County is able to turn over, generally in November they turn over they send out property tax payments once a week through the month of November. Last year, in November, there were 5 weekly turnovers of tax returns or tax receipts. We only received 4 this month. So there might be a little bit more coming in December, then that might have something to do with that overestimate there. But we'll have to spend a little bit more time with the formulas in this new reporting format.
I do appreciate the transition to the new reporting format. It's a lot more information. I know
there's a lot more information.
Yeah,
that's correct.
Yeah, so it's great. There were a couple points in the student services that stuck out to me in particular. One was the assessment and testing being budgeted for, if I'm reading this correctly, 8,000 and
correct.
Costing 80,000.
Yeah,
roughly.
So that was one of the kind of a highlight of the issues that we're trying to get ourselves out of. That specific line item paid for a curriculum or a student testing assessment program that was new during COVID and paid for with ESSER funds. And so when the ESSER funds ran out, that came over to the general fund. When the budget was developed back in the spring, that was a piece that was missed. But basically, it's kind of highlights the issue that we were dealing with. It's an additional expense that the general fund historically hadn't covered.
Okay.
And
if anybody else has questions, go ahead and jump in. You do. Well, so if we go down to the last page, if you could just break down or explain the total unappropriated, like 677,840.
Okay, so that is highlighted on this form for a reason. That is something that I'm going to need to bring an appropriation correction document back to the school board. Oregon budget law doesn't allow districts to have a negative appropriated amount. But basically, that is, if we break it down in more detail, it's coming from our special revenue funds. And again, what we talked about a couple of weeks ago, where the negative balances in the special revenue funds created this negative appropriation amount, which we can't have.
Mm-hmm.
I'm working with the Department of Revenue to come up with a good fix, and I'll bring that forward to the board likely in January to correct. But basically, it represents the negative balances in the special revenue funds.
Okay.
The other highlighted amount there would be the encumbrances for the capital project funds in the middle there. I just need to review those a little bit more closely and get a more accurate figure there. It was showing up as negative, and that's not accurate at all, so I took it off.
Okay.
I could go back to the insurance funds.
Sure.
When Jackie was here, who gave the consultant, I asked if the cash flow included the insurance reserved balance, and she wasn't entirely sure. According to this, it looks like we have a healthy reserve of $4 million. Is that accurate?
That's correct. It's not necessarily the cash position there now, but the fund balance itself is very robust. I mean, it's, but this form here is just listing the appropriation levels. It's not referring to cash. And so that, the cash in those funds helped carry the district while, remember in the general fund last year, our state school funding was withheld until we got our audit report in. And so the cash balances held in the internal service funds were helping to carry the district until the state school fund revenue started coming back in July. So this doesn't refer to cash at all.
Can I clarify now that
Sure.
now that fund is replenished to where it should
Yes,
be?
yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Oh, okay, thank you.
Yeah. And also that, just if you're listening, that's not part of the general fund. It's not something
Correct,
that we're
yeah.
accessing for spending on staffing or anything else. It's set aside for.
Correct. It's set aside for paying health claims for our employee health fund.
Anything else, Russell?
Well, I mean, I'm curious about all of the highlighted yellow in support services, but not just those. There's, under the Office of the Superintendent Services, if I'm reading across this line, it's small. So I see that looks like that's under budget, but then we have a school administration that's considerably over budget. I'm just curious, is this a categorization change that's happening that's creating these changes, or what's going on there?
So the third column there, the projected activity through, from December through June, is for those categories that are, have a lot of payroll expenses. Those projections there are based on the payroll encumbrances, which we have we've improved that system from our reporting last year. But it also is taking spending patterns from last year, developing the projected amounts there is looking at average spending last year from this time and applying it to our current spending levels. And so the hope is as we go forward, as our actual spending, which we've seen, is being decreased because of our spending freeze and our hiring freeze and all, that the projected amounts will start recognizing our current reductions. And again, before any kind of significant reductions that we take after the presentation a little bit later on, that some of these over budget amounts will get corrected as we go on through the year.
Okay, I look forward to more of this. Thank you. I know it's not a pleasant process for anybody, but this level of detail and transparency.
Level of detail helps. District has been overspending for the past several years, so we need to fix that. Are we good? All right. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Scott. Okay, so next up we have an action item, the English Language Arts curriculum adoption. That will be with Christine McCollum. Welcome.
Good evening. I'm here to share with you kind of where we are in our process. Last spring, Erica Bear brought the fact that we were going to be starting this process this fall, and just let you know what work has been done so far and what our projection looks like for the rest of our work. We had our first meeting in September. We have a committee that's addressing the K-5 English Language Arts adoption. Originally, we were going to have a K-12 process, but we already knew that the budget was an issue and that we probably wouldn't have the funding to cover secondary adoption this year. And the way that we're covering the K-5 adoption this year is through a state grant, the early literacy grant. So we went ahead and proceeded with the K-5 adoption process. I did select an article that was applicable K-12 and shared it out with the originally selected K-12 committee so that those folks would have that information, and spoke a little bit with Rebecca and Hillary at the middle and high schools about having their teachers take a look at what they were currently using as compared to the newer standards, and kind of doing a program evaluation so that when funding stabilizes and they're ready to proceed with an adoption, that they'd already have that part of the work finished and could proceed from that point. But in our September meeting, we had just our K-5 representatives. There's 13 of us that are working together to do this work. Myself, our elementary instructional coach, we've got 2 reading specialists, 5 primary teachers, and 4 intermediate teachers working together on this process. So in September, we worked together to set our purpose. We looked at the rubrics that the state used to select and approve materials. There's an approved materials list for the state of Oregon. So we took a look at that. There is a nonprofit literacy organization called the Reading League who has made recommendations for adoption committees. And so we took a look at their rubric that they had created, and we took a look at the rubric that the state used when they were evaluating curricula to place on the approved list. And we looked at those things together and decided that the Reading League's rubric was more explicit and easier to understand than the state's rubrics, at least when you're thinking about practical application. But we felt like the state's rubric had articulated equity better than the Reading League's rubric did. So we kind of tacked that piece onto the end. And we also looked at the equity rubric that we had created with the math committee in our previous adoption so that our equity standards would be similar across curricula in our district. And so when you're looking at the rubric that is in your packet, most of it is straight from the Reading League, the first portion of it. The back page, section 6, that has the cultural representation and equity frameworks is from the state source and from our previous district work. And then we also had some practicality items that we wanted to make sure that anything that we adopted was also had a community and family piece, that it had a scope and sequence that was actually teachable within a school year. If you've been through some of these curriculum adoptions, sometimes it's not very realistic when you're looking at the school year and you're looking at the amount of instructional materials. And that if possible, we'd like the content that they're focusing on developing to align with the Oregon standards in science and social studies. Sometimes that's tricky because most curriculum designers don't originate in Oregon. So, but where possible, we were taking a look at that. So we looked at those things in September and began drafting the rubric. In October, we came together and sort of solidified our agreements around that. We started looking at the list of approved materials that the state had put out and looking at those together online and kind of weeding out ones that clearly were not going to meet our criteria. And we kind of eliminated ones that were rated low by the state examiners as well, because we didn't want to start from that place. So we kind of narrowed it down over October and November to about 4 or 5 total publishers that we want to take a look at. So next week, we're going to have presentations from 3 different companies, and the way that the publishing houses are addressing the adoption, some of them have written a curriculum that covers both kind of the mechanics of reading and the literature-based and informational-based content knowledge development portion of the curriculum, and the science of reading shows that those are kind of the 2 components that a solid reading curriculum needs to have. Some publishing houses have produced both of those pieces in the same box, but they're really not well related. They don't integrate very well. And so some publishers have not even tried to say we're doing it all and have partnered together. So it's one company's content and literature, and then another company's kind of early literacy and linguistics development, and they've partnered together to create a full curriculum. So we're hearing from a company called Wit and Wisdom next Tuesday, and that's a content and literature company, and then 2 different kind of science of reading based nuts and bolts companies. One is called Foundations and one is called 95%. The Foundations company is formally partnered with Wit and Wisdom for Oregon, but their curriculum only goes through 3rd grade. And so we've engaged in science of reading training with our whole staff this year. And what we've learned is that it's really important not to drop that instruction in 3rd grade, that you need to continue with the study of language and morphology all the way through. And there are very few curriculums out there that do that. and 95% is one of the only ones that does. So we're going to hear from them as well. And then in January, we're going to hear from a company called EL Learning, and that's the same publishing house that our recently adopted math curriculum is from. So we're going to hear from those folks and kind of see at that point if we want to hear from anybody else or not, or if we're ready to then run those curricula through our rubric that we've created. And we're hoping that by February, we'll have that examination of our top kind of choices done, and we will have a recommendation to bring forward to the board in March of our top 2 choices. But I wanted to make sure that you all had the rubric now, so that if you have any suggestions of anything that we missed, anything that you would like to see, anything that doesn't make sense to you, that you would have the opportunity ahead of all of that to give us some feedback. Any questions?
I just want to say I really appreciated the equity piece. I thought it was very well thought out, and it's so important that we are consistent in all the curricula that we choose to use those same criteria. So that was really nice to see. And it was fascinating to see what's considered red flag. I mean, things that were standard of practice,
Oh,
right?
yes.
Just 5-10 years ago now are red flags. So
Right.
that was very interesting too.
Yeah, and that, as far as this rubric goes, it's kind of 2 different scales within the same rubric. So those red flags are kind of like red light, green light coding. And then we'll have like a 4-point scale for the best practices of like, this has all of this, most of it, some of it, not at all.
I guess just that piece that you mentioned about the phonics work beyond 3rd grade. That's so interesting that there's only one curriculum provider that you found to do that. I mean, that seems to be pretty universally known. I'm surprised, so I'm crossing my fingers that one ends up being a good choice.
Yeah, and the interesting piece about that is that the one that's officially approved by the state of Oregon is not that one. And I wonder if they didn't apply because or got developed later. The adoption process and how you get approved to get on the list is sort of an interesting one. But I did inquire with the state, like if we decide that this is really the program that we really want, but we don't like this part because it doesn't include 5th grade, can we call this our core and this our supplement? And will the grant still cover both of those things? Is that okay? Because one of the requirements of the grant is that you choose state-approved materials if they're core. I'm like, well, if we call this our supplement and this our core, does that still work? And the answer was yes, which is the right answer, if we choose that. So before we looked at it, I just wanted to make sure that our grant would actually cover the cost.
So in March, when you bring a recommendation to the board, it's probably pretty unlikely that you're going to find something that's perfect on every front. So I would love to hear how we're, as a district, going to scaffold where they're weak.
Right. This is kind of a unicorn list for sure. And there's no such thing as a perfect curriculum. And I kind of appreciate the acknowledgement from publishers that if you do this thing well, you probably don't do this thing well. And so I think with some flexibility around that, we can get closer. But I also want to pick something that is close as possible so that we're not putting extra load on teachers of having to navigate all of that, because it can be pretty complex to have to recreate something that's already created.
So just remind me, the curriculum that's used obviously in all our elementary schools. Does that include Willow Wind and Ashland Connect, or are we
Willow
not?
Wind and Trails.
Trails, but not.
And Ashland Connect uses the same curriculum that we do, so that would be
Is it?
included.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
So then I'm going to go ahead to move to approve I consider this one of the most important things that we do, honestly, as a school board, because curriculum adoption is so incredibly important, and it's where local control is really crucial. So I move to approve the invitation of a curriculum adoption process for English language arts as proposed.
I second. All in favor? All in favor, sorry. Russell's out of the room, but we have.
We have majority.
Russell, we're voting. Do you want to repeat it one more time? Okay, so we had a motion and a second to approve the curriculum adoption as presented, and all in favor? Okay. Good, thank you. All right, we're up to the big star here. So our next item is our budget action plan, and this will be presented by Dr. Joseph Hattrick.
There's a slight pause as we get set up. I've been getting
Slight
messages
pause.
that
Yes.
those online can't see the PowerPoint. So if those powers that be that handle the TV can hear that, maybe we can get help. Otherwise, those watching online, I apologize, we'll get it on the website like immediately. And if those people that control the TV can do something cool, well, there's somebody that hears something that may have control. Who knows? But Steve's at least going to get it up there for those in the room, and it'll be on the website shortly. And he's also going to make it so y'all can't see my notes. Good job. All right. And maybe the clicker will work. Lots of fancy work. Is it on there? It's okay. We got this. Bear with us.
We got a gold-plated one, I'm sure.
Mm-hmm. It's got to be. Hopefully the presentation will be better than the technology. Oh, it's up online. See? Thank you, Steve. And that's working? Wait, which clicker's working? Hold up. Don't touch that. Okay, we're good. Jackie, don't touch anything. Stop. Okay, we're good. Nobody touch anything. Whew. Okay. Goodness gracious. We're good. Nobody move. Well, good evening. All right, let me finish the training. Thank you for your patience, everybody. So before I begin tonight's budget reduction proposal, I'd be remiss if I didn't first just take a few minutes to first thank this amazing community and staff for their support, collaboration, and open-mindedness as we spent the last 2 weeks engaging with constituents at listening sessions. While this is not the topic under which I hoped to engage globally, I've personally been honored to spend so much time with the community and feel so fortunate to be part of this amazing place. So from the bottom of my heart, thank you. I also want to thank my cabinet, which includes Michelle Cuddeback, Steve Mitzel, Scott Whitman, and April Harrison. They attended every listening session with me and have spent countless hours brainstorming and researching with me. I simply couldn't do this work without them. Additionally, my entire leadership team has spent countless hours problem solving on this topic. Also, our remarkable staff have been amazing. I know this is a hard thing to have to go through, and this is not the first time they've gone through it. These incredible individuals and collective body have been incredibly supportive. Finally, thank you to the Ashland School Board for all of the support you've provided me through this process. I'm confident with a collaborative spirit and commitment to continue to do the hard work, we will get through this together and with great success, with little to no impact on our greatest asset, our students. Okay, now I have to figure out, I click and it's that, and I look at my notes here. Whew, hang in there, folks. We'll get through this. So tonight I plan to cover the following topics. Current budget overview to really identify the problem, or restate the problem really. A data review, recommendations for short-term financial recovery, the rationale for that, excuse me, expected impacts alternative measures considered, and next steps. A great deal of work went into determining the district's current reality, which was a collaborative process between the district and Oregon Association of School Business Officials. We reviewed budget by line item, object codes, sites, departments, over multiple years. We looked at budget development, processes, and systems. For more details on the process that went into the research that led to our findings, I'd highly recommend referring to our board meeting recording from November 21st. I think it's important to first reframe the problem statement with a clear goal attached. In total, the district will solve a budget deficit of around $7 million, though some of it will occur over a period of time and will be addressed in a phased approach. It's important to clarify that all of these are the status if we continued on the course we were on at the beginning of the fiscal year without interventions. So that's the beginning of this school year. We've already seen positive momentum as a result of some early interventions. During phase one, we'll address our initial need and deficit. So I'll review each of the phases. So phase one, Ashland School District has an anticipated negative fund balance for fiscal year 24-25, or school year 24-25, I apologize, totaling $1,037,000. That's general fund. We have a goal of $2.2 million reduction to allow for unanticipated costs, which would be equivalent to 2.5% reserve. That's between now and the end of the school year, June 30th. Phase two, identify a plan to save approximately $3.5 million cash to carry the district to November of 2025 and develop a balanced budget for the 25-26 school year that includes a contingency of about 4%. And then phase three is the kind of the long-term plan, which is to develop a 3-year plan to eliminate all negative fund balances in the special revenue funds, which is right around $3 million, and return to an 8% contingency. My goal is by 27-28. I heard a lot of feedback in the listening sessions that in the past there's been a practice of asking for survey feedback and then not sharing what we've learned from that. So I wanted to make a point of actually reviewing some of that data that we shared. Of course, this is not all of the data, but this is just some snapshots that inform some of these decisions. So in developing an action plan, I don't believe it's ever advantageous to do so in a vacuum. This plan is no different, but there's quite a bit of urgency in developing the plan. I had a moment of pause over the weekend where I really considered, is this the right process? This is still a somewhat top-down action plan. In an ideal situation, we would take a couple months and we'd work as a group to develop this plan. But because of the urgency, with every passing day, the district spends approximately $150,000. Therefore, the district needed to act swiftly while gathering as much feedback as possible in a short amount of time. So I really am appreciative for the trust placed in this process. In future phases, it'll be done differently because we'll have more time. So once we had as much information as necessary, we conducted 5 listening sessions, beginning with the Ashland School District staff. You can see our listening sessions schedule on the slide. During each session, we had at least an hour for Q&A, actually it was more like an hour and a half, as well as opportunities for written questions and survey responses. I made a promise, as I was unable to fulfill, and apologize for that. That promise was to do FAQs and to have them by Monday. I did overextend myself, so we're still working on getting that out. We're working on the FAQ page, which will be on the home page, and it'll be up soon. There were simply far too many questions, probably in the neighborhood of 250 to 300 questions, so that takes a while to respond to, but we will get there. In total, we had 241 respondents to our survey. I'm going to have to get a hard copy because I can't see the actual number right now. Oh, that's no better. Thank you so much. 177 community members, 57 staff members, and 7 community members. Thank you so much. Whew. I'm getting an eye appointment over winter break. A few key pieces of data that influenced our action plan because of the alignment in responses are displayed above. So nearly 60% of respondents would support furlough days, and this preference was shared amongst our classified staff. Oh, I can zoom. Outstanding. Our classified staff preferred furlough over reduction of staff, and 53% of members reported 1 to 3 days to be less of a strain. I'm not saying it wouldn't be a strain, but less of a strain. 81% of staff who completed the survey would support furlough days. 94% of respondents supported spending freeze on non-essential items, and support for mid-year staff reduction was 36% from staff and 38% from families. So now I'm going to jump into the proposed action plan, which was built from some of these recommendations. So as I previously mentioned, we've already seen some positive momentum from earlier interventions, so I do want to make it clear that this proposal would take effect from now, essentially, through the end of the school year. There's a couple of items on the list that have already occurred but aren't reflected in the budget yet, so they are included on this list. I also want to remind you that Phase 1 target is to reduce $2.2 million. Additionally, this action plan is an estimate. I'm always going to aim higher than the target, so as we see additional opportunities throughout the year, we may make slight adjustments and keep the board and constituents updated. Our proposal would include 6 furlough days, saving approximately $824,000. We'd like to spread those out over time to limit the impact to staff and families and provide ample time for planning. I'll expand on this on my next slide. We'd propose that field trips are cost neutral for the general fund, asking that they're either funded through fundraisers or small fees. Elimination of a contracted service provider of psychology services, leaving 2.5 FTE serving in that capacity, which saves the district $85,000. This is one adjustment that's already been made. Another that has been started is extra duty contract reductions, saving the district approximately $60,000 so far. This was done by analyzing each stipend for the need and prioritizing programs for students, sports, clubs, and activities. There's, like I said, some extra duty stipends and such that have been already reduced or eliminated or adjusted based on those priorities. We've made some modifications to staffing for semester 2 simply through attrition, and those are reflected in the chart in the amount of about $170,000. We'll continue our spending freeze, which in comparison to last year has already saved the district $100,000 in semester 1. We would anticipate that on about the same trajectory for semester 2. We owe a huge debt of gratitude to our building leaders and our staff for the sacrifices and creative thinking for making this happen this year. We know it's not easy to go without some of the supplies and expenses that we typically do in our schools, but it's making a huge impact. We've also eliminated travel and professional development with the exception of free and grant-funded professional development, saving the district $30,000. So that brings our total reductions to $1,339,000. This left us with an additional $900,000 about to reduce. The most efficient way to address this is through additional furlough days and staff cuts. Following our first listening session, a community member reached out after hearing of the challenges facing the district. As we all know, there's been a lot of news reports about the budget crisis. In the same manner as our data showed, this individual shared in our concern of the impact that mid-year staff reductions would have on students and staff, as well as too many missed school days. This person desperately wanted to help, and as a result has offered to do so. Not only has this individual supported some of our student groups and advisors, this anonymous donor has allowed us to decrease reductions in staff and the number of days we need to cut this year only by providing us with an astounding, generous gift of $850,000. This takes our savings to a grand total of $2,200,029 for the 24-25 school year. I want to point out that this gift was made possible by the Ashland Schools Foundation through their established strong relationships with the district and community and ability to facilitate a charitable contribution as a 501c3. Their primary focus is their classroom grant programs, which respond to teacher requests for classroom projects, though we are always working closely in tandem to identify ways they can best serve the district. People are encouraged to visit their website to learn more about their grant program and to get in touch about how you can support the district. My heart's truly filled with gratitude as a result of this donor. And although we can't disclose who this person is, I'm going to repeat that, media, don't ask me, I'm not telling you. I would encourage this community to show our appreciation in a different way. Next week, I'm going to have a huge box or boxes in the district office. I would love to fill it with thank you cards and letters that I will have delivered over winter break. Please let me know how I can help facilitate this with classrooms, schools, and other groups. I also want to make something clear. This doesn't fix the problem. We owe a huge debt of gratitude to this person, but it does not fix our problem. This is a systems issue. This simply provides us a little breathing room during which we can plan for phase 2 and 3. As I've said many times, this gets us off the budget roller coaster. Only if we fix phase 2 and 3. So there's some, I want to explain some of the impacts of the recommended reductions this year. So furlough days. What this would look like is admin and licensed staff would have a reduction of about 6 days salary. Classified would have a reduction of about 3 to 4 days salary. And the reason for that is we would attempt to minimize the interruptions to families' schedules by attaching days to holidays, like single day holidays, and utilizing non-school days when possible. Therefore, there are some of the days that we'd be reducing that classified staff may not be working already. We plan to work with childcare providers to see if any solutions can be provided to our families as well to minimize the impact to working families. And then the impacts to transportation. Field trips will be cost neutral, resulting in no cost to the general fund. And then we'd work with our schools to figure out plans around fundraisers and fees as the preferred solution. And prioritize field trips that are within county. We thought about a lot, and we're continuing to think about a lot because, again, this doesn't solve the problem. We need to start thinking about long-term solutions. So while these are not solutions that we picked up for this year, these remain measures for the future. We were originally looking at furloughs up to 13 school days. We were looking at mid-year reductions in staff, or if you hear the term RIF, it's a reduction in force, which would amount to about $900,000. But thank you to the anonymous donor, we could avoid those. Minimize extra duty stipends, limit student clubs and activities, eliminate middle school sports program this year only, eliminate all field trips. So next steps. We still have a lot of work to do. And so what I don't want anyone to think of is, okay, it's solved. We can chill. We're far from it. So first, engagement. The next step, starting tomorrow, it's on the calendar already, is we're going to be engaging with labor unions. First, we're going to work together to finalize furlough days. While we have suggestions and recommendations what that might look like, we do want to collaborate to figure out what's best for all staff and keep in mind what's best for students and our families. We'll also continue to collaborate on a long-term plan. As it was mentioned earlier, we're collaborating with our classified union. In the future, we'll continue, we're ongoing collaborating with our licensed union, and we'll continue to do that as we talk about long-term solutions. Committees, I've been promising since I started that there would be committees. Those are happening, well, the committees are not happening, but the applications will come out over winter break. Parent, staff, student advisories, long-range planning teams, budget committee. I would like to assemble all of those sooner than later to start thinking through what's next. And then we'll be communicating progress frequently. And as mentioned, the FAQs, which will be on the website as soon as possible. Next, we're going to conduct as many research projects as possible. So some things that came up frequently throughout our listening sessions is to do some research internally and externally. So of course, we have to have a really good understanding of how our schools are put together, our staffing plans, everything. So we're going to really look internally, as well as what do schools around us look like? What do schools of like size look like? So we're going to look into all of that. We're going to look at enrollment, staffing, class size. We also are going to look at best practices in terms of efficiencies, good models at work. We really need to look at what we're doing, how we're doing it, and how we can improve, both fiscally, but while we're doing it, we might as well look at everything. And then finally, we're just going to continue to evaluate. So phase 2 options. One option that has been brought up many times is, so phase 2 takes us from July 1st through November 1st, and we don't receive local funds during that period of time. So we don't have the cash on hand to afford operations through that time. Unless, of course, our efforts are so amazing this school year that we double our efforts. Never know. I like to be optimistic, but that's super optimistic. So to be realistic, we could, I've began the research, and it could be an option to go out for a tax anticipation note just to have the cash on hand to get us through that, which we pay back in December. And then looking at other cost savings measures. As I mentioned, as we continue to evaluate things this year, we may see other cost savings measures that could get us further along towards phase 2 goals. But we'll be researching some of those as a team. Continue to research reduction in force options for phase 2 and 3. It was mentioned multiple times from Jackie that with an increase of staff and a decrease in students, we've got one of 2 options: to increase enrollment, which of course we're going to focus on constantly, as ways to improve our efficiencies, improve our programs, continue to meet the needs of students and understand where we may have fallen short. We're going to continue to do that as a school improvement and district improvement project. But we also need to continue to look at what point should have staffing stabilized after the pandemic, and what we can do to look at that. And we had a goal multiple years ago to look at attrition as the solution. That could still be the solution, but we need to take a really hard look at that. And also make some really difficult decisions. I know that there's a history of the tough decisions being, I wouldn't say avoided, but very challenging. But now's the time to make those tough decisions, because I am committed to this conversation not happening year after year after year, for the sake of this district and our students and our staff. And then finally, develop a staffing allocation model for predictable, sustainable staffing and budgeting. So well, maybe if Steve sits back in the chair, he can advance to the final slide. We'll see. There's just one more slide. But as he's doing that, I just want to thank you all again, both in the room and online, for all of the support, collaboration, and thoughtfulness as we've been going through this process. Thank you so much. That was perfect. I have nothing but confidence that we will successfully navigate these challenges as long as we continue to keep in mind what is in the best interest of our students and the stability and longevity of our district. During our school year kickoff celebration, I shared with the staff my strong belief that we as a staff are one. We as a district are one. That we're all in this together. I can also think of no better time to bring this sentiment back. These are challenging times, but I truly believe that we as a community are one, and we can succeed in this together and leave these challenges behind once and for all. Thank you, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Can I
got
start?
one. Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Well, thank you very much for your work on that. I sincerely appreciate that. And thank you, everybody, for your input in that process. I don't think we would have arrived at this without those pretty hard few weeks. My only question for you, because I mostly want to listen, is can we please spend more time in the budget process to make that more transparent and collaborative and consider more input?
Absolutely, and hopefully more educational. Yep.
Okay, I'm just going to ask this for anybody who likes to learn along. Can you explain the tax anticipation note and how that differs from a loan?
Well, I've not done a ton of research yet, but I do know, the one thing I do know about it, very surfacey, is it's batched together with other school districts, so that does help with the interest rate. As I dig in more, I'll provide more information, but I know just enough to be completely wrong. So how about that?
Okay, I appreciate that.
Just a quick, I mean, I understand you, the word tax in that is kind of, I guess, my question. Does that mean we go out for a tax?
No. So
Okay.
it's, the purpose of it is to save districts for that
Yeah,
amount of
that
time
part.
until we receive the taxes.
Oh, I see. So we're not taxing people in a,
No.
okay,
No,
perfect. Thank
no.
you.
You bet. Great question. That's not a popular term.
Sorry. But as I understand it, it's just a temporary loan against incoming income that's, yeah.
Yeah, because we're anticipating the taxes.
Right.
Yeah.
With glee.
Okay, and also just to clarify, and I know you probably talked about this in your listening sessions, but for anybody who missed that, I know most of us are aware that we're very close to the low end of where we are as far as required academic minutes, because that's what the state requires.
Sure.
Can you explain how we can have all these furlough dates and still get away with that, basically?
Yeah, absolutely. So we are incredibly close, especially at the high school level. I think we have a buffer of about 6 hours. So by furloughing days, and this has happened before and in many school districts, we won't meet the instructional minute requirements with Oregon Department of Education. So what happens next year when we report our Division 22 standards, which is us verifying we've met all of the requirements in our Oregon Department of Education, we will mark on that we are not in compliance under that standard. I believe when we reported this year, I think there was at least one that we weren't in compliance under. Oh, yeah. PE, no, we are in compliance under that. The curriculum adoption cycle. And so we created a corrective action plan, how we're going to get caught up. So we do the same thing with this. Under instructional minutes requirements, we would mark ourselves not in compliance, and I would write a corrective action plan and present it to the board, how we're going to get back in compliance. So what that means is this would happen this year only, and we would have a plan so that we ensure that we would meet instructional minutes requirements next year. So this is a one-time thing.
So I just have a comment about furlough days.
Sure.
Knowing what we know about chronic absenteeism,
Mhm.
right, and in student disengagement, furlough days are not top on my list as a choice. I think I just want us all to remember it seems easy and, wow, we can have some furlough days and save some money, but that has an impact on our kids and our families.
Mhm.
And I don't want this to be a light decision. And I
Absolutely.
understand you're not doing it lightly, but I just don't want furlough days to be this easy solution to some
Mhm.
very difficult things. So
Right.
I appreciate that we are having fewer furlough days, and myself going forward, I have problems with that as a solution going forward.
Yep.
So we know that we have the lowest minutes, some of the lowest minutes in the country for our kids. So yeah, let's not underestimate the impact of kids missing school.
Yep. And let's also highlight the fact that this is a one-time solution. This can't be a repetitive solution. Mhm. Are there any other questions? So what I would ask, and although there is no action required for this, I do, like I mentioned in this last slide, I do want to acknowledge that we are in this together. And so what I would ask is that the board do take action simply to acknowledge that you've heard and understand and accept this action plan for the time being. And what I am committing to is to continue to update you on this. Even if it's a simple board report that says we're on track with it each month. Or as I identify more solutions, or we as a district identify more solutions for additional cost-saving measures, or reporting that this is working, we'll continue to update you and the community on that. So all I would be asking for tonight is an action item that says, yes, we accept the action plan as presented, if you so choose.
Before that, I have a logistics question. So are people able to, if people wanted to comment on this tonight, when is the cutoff time for public comments on this?
That's coming up next.
I mean, if somebody is thinking right now, God, I've got something to say, can they bring something up now?
Absolutely.
And then, Yeah. Okay. Oh, and then if people need time to digest, what is the best way to get feedback to you on
That's
this
great.
over the next few weeks?
That's a great question. I am always available to meet with people, email back and forth. Over the last couple of weeks, I've been apologizing to people a lot. I've been behind on my emails for obvious reasons. I'm going to catch up on them tomorrow and next week, so I'll be caught up and hopefully much more responsive in my timelines. But yeah, please email is the best way, or calling the office or stopping by the district office.
And the other thing is, I just want to express a great deal of gratitude to this anonymous donor. Oh,
Yeah.
my goodness, I'm blown away.
Incredible.
We are so lucky.
We are. It's amazing. Thank you for your honesty, Dan.
Can I just for everybody listening, another logistical question? Getting on the committees, they'll go to the website, or how will they go
Well,
about?
I'm going to be sending out a district-wide, I'm still not familiar with what they all are. Peach jar and whatever way we send out stuff, I'll be sending them out. There'll be an application to sign up. SMORE, right?
Yeah.
In every possible way, we'll send them out, and we'll do a thing on the website so that people know all the different, it'll be sent out, and then it'll be applications for all the different committees. Yeah. I just realized I misinformed on the donation. It's actually $850,000 donation plus a $40,000 support of one of our stipend positions for affinity groups. So you may have noticed the number didn't match up with what I said. That's why. Yeah. For groups as well as supplies for that piece. So it's incredibly, incredibly generous. Please.
Yeah, I just had a question, because you said there would be, in the report, I guess it says for the furlough days, it'd be around 6 days, is that correct? Do you have any plan for when you would, like, insert them, like, specifically yet, or do you have any idea, or just?
Absolute guesses. I have a picture of my board. Generally once a month, but again, I want to have this agreed upon between the district and our labor union, so we really are on the same page. But generally once a month, no more than 2 days a month. But any month that there's 2, it's because some of them are non-work days or non-student days. So the impact to students would be no more than 1 a month.
That's nice. I was just thinking, like, if there's any way to, like, either extend it on some kind of break that we might have or something, that could
exactly.
also, that
Yep.
could be nice.
Exactly. Good job. You should be a superintendent.
I think she will be someday.
Just to be super clear, when you say admin is included in that furlough days, you're talking to yourself too?
I sure am. The district will be closed. Yep. This is a shared. Thank you.
And I just to clarify, when you say non-student days, you mean like conference days?
Yep.
Pretty much, okay.
That's right.
Okay. All right, any other questions? Okay, so I will be taking public comment at this time, and as Dan also asked, if there's anybody else who wants to speak, I have 2 right now. Please fill out and bring up one of these forms in the next few minutes. So I'll have Ann Gaffney first. And same rules, I won't go through it all again, 2 minutes, and, you know the drill.
So Ann Gaffney, Ashland resident, thank you so much for listening to me today. I wanted to start by thanking all of you for transparency tonight and with the listening sessions. I know I've spoken to 2/3 of you probably individually about transparency, and I appreciate those changes and increased transparency that I'm seeing. So thank you all very, very much for that. I know you won't answer questions during this time, but hopefully you will later on. My first question is, can other people donate? Right? I mean, there are other people in the community maybe who, what would I spend on childcare for my kid for 1 day? If I can give that to the district instead and they can have that furlough day back and go to school, if enough of us band together and do that, maybe our kids don't need to actually bear the impact of losing instructional time in order to solve this crisis. So it's not something any of us would be able to do every year necessarily, but this once maybe we can. So I assume we should reach out to the Ashland Schools Foundation, or someone will help me afterwards, and we can figure out how maybe to do that. The second thing I'd like to have you consider is there a way in our planning where we can have students make up those minutes next year? Because we know the impact that loss of instruction has on students, and it's really profound, particularly when we're following up COVID times, where we know learning loss is such a big issue. And so it won't help our seniors. And so we need to trust that we've done enough for our seniors already as we send them off into the world, and that they'll take everything that we've given them with them. But it will help everyone else. So as we make plans, let's see what we can do there. The last thing I just wanted to say is that there are lots of places where we'll all disagree. And I disagree profoundly with some of the decisions that this board is making, and yet I appreciate all the time, effort, and energy that you are putting into it. I ask is that you continue to put Ashland School District first every step of the way. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, and Matt Norris.
Hi, Matt Norris, live here in Ashland. I'll keep it brief. Another question that I know can't be answered but can be answered later is you're talking about, I guess, basically a bridge loan. I don't remember what you called it, but is there a possibility, and would it make a difference if citizens choose to pay their taxes early? We're talking about a couple of months. Maybe it doesn't make that much difference for some people, paycheck to paycheck, that may not be a possibility, but there might be a number of people that could do that. And if that could make a difference and change how this is going forward, that would be great. I think that's all I have to say. Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right. That's all we have.
So are we gonna make the thumbs uppy thing that you want?
Yeah, is there any other
That would be a
comment?
motion.
So,
I can do that.
Russell,
I
you got
move to
something.
approve the budget action plan as submitted by Dr. Hatrick.
I'll
I
second.
guess I just want to make one comment, and I mean, I don't want to, bring us all down, but, we are approving, I just want to make sure everybody is aware, we are approving just right now this short-term solution. And that means, as Joseph has said again and again, there is still a lot of work to do. So in approving this, I want to also approve the fact that the board and our superintendent have a lot of work left to do. Okay? So I know there's a lot of hard decisions still to come. So that being said, we have a motion and a second. All in favor? Thank you. All right.
Thank you, Joseph, for all of the hard work. And I mean, you have come on board and just done such an incredible job. Thank you so much.
Yeah, I want to second that from our entire community. I have heard just such wonderful feedback from all of this. Really, I know how hard it is, but everything I hear about how you have navigated this has been positive, so thank you.
In all honesty, it's been one of the most challenging projects professionally, but it could not have been accomplished without the support of this community and the staff. This staff is truly remarkable. And then to be able to engage with our students the way I've been able to on a budget project, the people that spend their entire evening sitting here because they're committed to the district, this is home. This is why it's been exhausting but easy, because this is hard work. So thank you all.
Yes, I think we all agree Ashland is a special place, so.
And this is apropos of nothing and not a response to a public comment, but Ashland Schools Foundation is always happy to receive donations. And they exist to support the district and for meaningful contributions like this. So absolutely.
And on that, if I may, just I speak with the executive director frequently. I think it's really important to just remember their purpose, which is to support our classrooms, and at the same time, we do collaborate a lot on needs and priorities. So if anyone even just wants to talk about the why or what's next, do reach out to the district, reach out to me, or reach out to ASF, and we can help point people in the right direction if there's those interests. So thank you for that. And again, final plug. Huge thank you to our anonymous donor, and this person is truly anonymous, and let's see that. And I would love to fill this person's home with so many cards and letters, so I expect the most traffic in the district office parking lot. What's our address? I don't even know. 885. Don't. 885 Siskiyou Boulevard. Please come. I expect a lot of traffic, and we'll have plenty of boxes. I would love so many cards, letters, pictures, whatever. Next week, all week. Be there.
All right. So that brings us to announcements and appointments. The board will hold a special session Friday, December 13th. That's tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. in the district office conference room. I'm sorry? 9 a.m. See, we were arguing about this. I had 10 on my calendar, but it's definitely...
She put 8 a.m.
Sorry. Okay, we'll come back to this. In any case, the board will be meeting tomorrow morning to discuss board goals. Please see the website. We will figure it out. To set goals for the coming school year. The board will convene a special session on Thursday, December 19th, 2024. This is correct, at 7 p.m. right here in the City Council chamber to receive the recommendation from Sunstone Housing Collaborative for the next steps in the process of planning an affordable housing community on property currently owned by the school district. The board will hold its next regular session on Thursday, January 9th, 2025 at 7 p.m. here in City Council chambers. The Ashland School District will be closed for winter break from December 23rd through January 3rd, 2025. Schools will be open on Monday, January 6th, 2025. And this obviously will all be up on our website with the correct times on it. And that brings this meeting to a close. Thank you. Right?